that? I can hear a yes from somewhere.
Okay, but before I give the microphone over, I believe that, you know what, Nigeria is a very incompetent state. There is a possibility that the school authorities don't actually have details, basically the pictures.
Well, we'll come to that.
What is happening? So who wants the mic now?
Somebody has a contrary opinion to that. I think it's a gentleman. Where is that, my friend? Was it? That was you, wasn't it? Oh, hello. How are you, Reverend?
Hello, sorry there.
Yes.
The simple question was asked whether what the gentleman had proposed that the abduction of the girls was assured or not. And it clearly is not. There are over 200 missing girls. Regardless of whether or not the modern governors are sitting there twiddling their thumbs, I think ultimate responsibility for the security in our country lies with the commander-in-chief. You know, if governors, if a state of emergency needs to be declared everywhere, if governors need to be removed, as has been done in the previous administration, where governors are almost put on house arrest, when states of emergency were declared in their states, Kwara, under President Obasanjo, you know, and it needs to be done. We're sitting here and then it's a finger-pointing exercise. You are the commander-in-chief of the nation, you are the commander-in-chief of your state, you are the one making it for governor. What are we talking about?
Okay. Let me, another opinion? Raymond, it looks like you will need help.
Oh yeah, I do.
So, my dear sir, just Mr. Lawson. So the gentleman says, irrespective of what is happening, yes, Ms. Lawson, there is still somebody who has ultimate responsibility, but we'll come back to that. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Isn't it rather strange that the principal of the school has suddenly kept quiet? Now, we know we have all been in secondary school. All of us here have had our pictures taken. There has to be some sort of a school record. There has to be some sort of a way to talk to the parents. Don't show us the parents crying. Don't show us pictures, random pictures of men and women weeping. Talk to these people. Find out who these children are. They will have passport pictures. They will have records of getting into those schools. They will have report cards. Talk to the girls who ran away, the girls who escaped. Yes, they were supposed to be taking exams. There are records. I also blame members of the press, because members of the press have not done any investigative journalism. Journalism is not, right now, journalism is all about this big man, that bling, that politician, this, that, and the other. These girls are people's children. They are alive, they are somewhere. Somebody gave birth to each and every one of them. We have to know who they are. They're not just girls, a numbers being thrown around. We don't even know how many of them are missing.
Okay, all right. Anybody wants to add anything to that? Maybe we'll take the stage before.
Yes, so I want to read out this poem. I'm sure a lot of people here know. It's by Martin Niemöller, yeah? It says, first they came for the communists. I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. You know, I remember when they started kidnapping in the Niger Delta, and because it didn't really affect us down here in the Southwest, a lot of people were very nonchalant in their attitude, you know, and we really didn't care. You know, it was okay, it's happening there in the north, in the Niger Delta, and they were kidnapping expatriates. You know, we thought, okay, well, even if they're kidnapping expatriates, their companies will pay the millions or the whatever naira they're asking for, and the expatriates will be released. Then it came down here to the southwest to meet us, and they started kidnapping ordinary people, people like you and I. Then they even started kidnapping people, white-collar workers, you know, and they started kidnapping blue-collar workers, and they started kidnapping maids, and they started kidnapping drivers, and anybody was free game, you know, to be kidnapped. And when it came down here to meet us, we took it a lot more seriously. You know, and I'm thinking, you know, we can sit here and we can think to ourselves that, oh, did it really happen? Were those girls really kidnapped? There are no faces. We haven't seen their pictures in the papers. That to me is, it's our press that is at fault. It isn't the parents of the children. It isn't the schools. It isn't the school that the girls were in. I think it is our press that is at fault, that they haven't done a lot more to bring it to our consciousness. You know, by now...
Is that a deliberate thing?
I don't think it's a deliberate thing. I think they're just inept. I'm sorry if they're in any press.
Ineptitude?
I think that it's ineptitude. The press are just inept, you know. I would have thought that by now there'll be a countdown, maybe in this day or something, say day 1, day 2, day 3, there'll be a countdown where we're, you know, this that girls have been missing for 10 days, 12 days, or 14 days, you know, but there isn't. So I really don't think because we don't have their pictures, because we don't have their names, it did not happen. You know, that doesn't say it did not happen. But, you know, and I do think it is. I went to QC and I honestly, yes, maybe when I was doing my exams we took photographs. But I can't remember us taking, apart from the photographs we took as amongst ourselves, I can't remember us taking school photographs, and this was what, over 30 years ago, I'm sorry, yeah. You know, and that was then. So I imagine that by now, it is worse. You know, by now I don't think, they might not have pictures. Maybe their parents should have
Maybe
pictures.
also the schools are remote, but let me just summarize that. You are saying that this event did happen.
Oh, I do believe it happened, yeah.
Now, does anybody here believe that it did not happen at all? I mean, I'm not talking about maybe, maybe not. Mr. Lawson, do you believe it did not happen at all?
It did happen.
All right. So we agree on one thing. An event has happened, and somehow we've either mismanaged it, or we've misused the information, or all for different levels of interest. I am very glad that we at least agree that it happened.
Thank you very much.
Because that's a starting point. Yes, sir.
To my mind, the event happened. The girls were kidnapped. But I have to step back a little bit, like I'm wont to do every time I look at a particular scenario. Now we're all worried. The girls. Let's ask a few different questions. How did they, in a place that is under siege and meant to be policed by police and the army, get to that school in the first place? Have enough vehicles to enter the school, pick up that number of girls, and actually get out of that town. And they did not get stopped by anybody. Previous to that, they have gone to other schools, they have killed children in schools. They simply seem to sort of float into town, do what they want to do, and sort of float out. Occasionally we hear that maybe some soldiers or some security force saw somebody somewhere, there was an attack somewhere, they killed a few people somewhere. How do they keep on doing what they do in a place that is basically in a state of war?
Thank you. Now, my question to you, sir, would be, where are we directing that question? Where should we be directing those questions?
I could actually ask that question myself, but for the purpose of this particular event, I think it's above our pay grade right now.
Okay. You're earning way too much more than us.
Yes.
But I take your point. Yes, Mr. Lawson.
There are certain things we need to have in plain sight. And we need to clarify them in order for us not to find ourselves in a madness junction or within a cloud of confusion.
we live in a society where I love Nigeria. I have friends from the Yoruba tribe. I was born in Lagos. And my name...
I'm always very wary when one starts to make a point in that manner. I'm always afraid of what is
but because these are some of the truths. These are some of the truths that I have.
I actually speak Yoruba better than I speak my own language. I've lived more in Yoruba land than I've lived in my own language. So I am really, really worried what is coming at the end of this.
The fact is this. Nigeria is a beautiful country that we all must contribute to make to work. Alright? Now, if certain parts of the nation or the country have decided that rulership is their own birthright, then I'm going to argue that any day, anytime. It's unfortunate that people's lives are being destroyed. And I remind you of one thing. Bob Marley said, so many have to die. So many have to be homeless. And this is the way of prophecy. But the fact with Nigerian situation is the fact that we do not want to confront the truth. We must not forget the history of how all of this started. People made a declaration that the administration of Goodluck Jonathan will be made ungovernable. Nobody's asking those questions.
Well, hold on a minute.
Nobody's asking those questions.
Let me agree with you.
All right?
So people have made declarations.
Please, I'm sorry.
I have a bigger microphone.
I'm sorry. I went to a unity school.
Microphone.
Children were killed in the daylight, and I was angry. I stood up, walked on the streets, and people thought that I didn't have the right. Why wouldn't I? If you killed a child in the secondary school, it could have as well as been my own child.
I agree with you.
But then, people were adopted, 200 kids, female, and you have a governor who comes in and makes declaration of genocide, and everybody thinks that it is normal. That governor should have been impeached. All right, please, Ivan. I have right to my opinion. All right. But can I say what I want to say and rest my case? Can I say what I want to say and rest my case?
I'm listening.
Okay, please. Now, I will never disagree the fact that this thing happened. Because there were children who were killed in Yobe. It happened. It's a reality. I was in Abuja when the Yanyan bomb blast went off. And people made the comment that the reason why the bomb went off was the fact that Goodluck Jonathan should not go in for 2015. I didn't vote for Goodluck Jonathan in 2011 because I was a national publicity secretary of a political party. I'm not a politician. All right, I'm a Niger Delta. But I say here that I'm going to vote for Goodluck Jonathan come 2015. Who likes it or not is their bloody business. Now, people came up with conspiracy issues. Ivan, can I finish my talk? Ivan, let me finish my talk. Please, let me finish my talk. Let me finish my talk.
All right, I know that there's no problem.
Hold on a minute, just before the gentleman. Mr. Lawson, let me make one thing clear. Mr. Lawson, it is not about stopping you from expressing yourself. It is about allowing everybody else to have their opinion. And also, it is about, Mr. Lawson, I have the bigger microphone, so I can stop you at any time. But I have a question for you. Mr. Lawson, are you with me? I have a question for you. I have heard it, you preached it. So, some crazy governors or some crazy political leaders have said the country is not going to be governable. I agree. Okay, not a problem. I say to you, Mr. Lawson, that you will not leave here and get home. Are you going to sit down and say, well, Ivo has said I am not going home, so, hey, you know what? I can't go home. I will return the question to you and say, what is the point of you being my boss? What is the point of you being in control of my army? What is the point of you having all the infrastructure at your disposal, and then you say to me, because I said you will not go home, so hey, you know what? I'm not going to go home. I don't buy your argument, sir.
Hello. Ivo, just for the record, two Mr. here, so please be specific.
Hello. I totally disagree with other Mr. Lawson, because if you are the president of the Federal Republic or the country, except we are saying that we've gotten to a state where it's a failed country and the apparatus of government do not lie in the hands of the president, then I would agree that a bunch of northern governors are forming a conspiracy against the country. We need to understand one thing. In every state, the chief executive officer does not have any right against the least security apparatus, which is the police for the state. Every commissioner of police reports to the Inspector General of Police. The military is headed by the president. So if there's an insurgency in a part of the country, the president has all the apparatus and all the powers. So whatever a group of governors, a group of people have said at any point in time does not count, because you are the president. You can't declare. Presidents have gone to war because people have been killed. Are we trying to say if 200 Americans were kidnapped in Nigeria, the US Marines would not have invaded Nigeria by now? Now we're talking about... So we're talking about Nigerians being kidnapped, and we're talking about political interest here. They are girls for crying out loud. They don't belong to parties. They don't even vote. If only one American is lost, they will send in people, and we are within Nigeria. My recommendation is the ball stops at the desk of the president, regardless where he comes from. Regardless where he comes from.
What should the president do? Can I have the microphone? Can I have the microphone?
You resign!
Well, Mr. Lawson, you have started something that we're going to
No, but it's all right. It's in the spirit of the discourse. So we can get the spirit of the
ladies and gentlemen, let's just get involved in this. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to the details.
Okay, I'm very pleased that we are I think we are reducing ourselves here. We are sounding very much like, I know you wouldn't agree, we are sounding very much like locals. We are not sounding like Nigerians. This problem is more nuanced than you think. Of course, everybody knows the president, is responsible for running the country, security and all that stuff. But it's much more than that. Now, I'm going back to the issue of whether or not 200 girls were arrested, abducted. I don't think that's a big question. We know it happened. Just like every other thing that has happened throughout this insurgency. The other thing also is that we have to know that this insurgency is more than 10 years old now. In a sense, or about 10 years old. And one of the things that made it what it is today, and actually internationalized it, is the strong arm tactics adopted by the president at the time, President Yar'Adua. Jonathan was not part of this. So nobody started this because of Jonathan. It's been on. And we keep hearing sponsorship, this one sponsors this or that. I understand the whole politics and all that, which, we shouldn't get into now. But the truth is this. Boko Haram is an international franchise operating in Nigeria. They are being sponsored from outside. You have a very porous border. You have your security services are not responding as they should, and your politicians are playing politics with the issue. Okay. That is what is going on now. Okay. So if we are prepared to solve the problem, then we as citizens must begin to look at what we can do and how we can influence things, rather than go ethnic or begin to say Jonathan this or this one. No, that's not the point. The point is quite different. When you deal with matters like this, it is not a partisan matter. This is about us and our future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wildcard.
Very quickly, sir.
A wildcard.
Yes.
It was said a couple of years ago by a certain entity that Nigeria was going to break up in 2015.
Yes.
And
so all of this could be orchestrated.
As far as I'm concerned, there is a lot of things going on in the background.
Okay. Right. Just on the table.
You predict to break up, you want to make it happen.
Okay, then thank you, Mr. Ivo. Yeah. What I would say is the president, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, regardless of what we are saying, insurgency has started long before he took power. And since he's the commander-in-chief, he's responsible for anything that happens to us. We are only talking about the 200 girls that have been abducted. We don't even know whether they've been killed. Sometimes they go in Yobe, in youth school. They went there at night, killed boys, sleeping in their sleep. They were being slaughtered. Nobody said anything. And I will say something. When you started your speech, you said something about the media. Maybe they have not disappointed you in any way. I think they have disappointed the whole of the nation. I don't know what media, maybe media worldwide is different. But for my practice, I'm a medical doctor. I know that medicine is universal. It's the same thing everywhere. What's it called? The Afghanistan war. You see journalists filming how they are shooting RPGs and everything. You see them dodging their head, wearing helmets. Where are our own journalists?
I didn't mean to laugh at what you were saying. I was just trying to picture a Nigerian journalist.
But the only thing our journalists today, I got to the system today, and the only thing I could see is how a celebrity in Nigeria that had a wedding in Dubai had cars and stuff and gold-plated phones. Is that what we want to look at in Nigeria?
I think we all agree that the one critical element of journalism and the media, at least the time when I started out in it, has been lost.
Yes.
They don't educate anymore. They simply inform. The governor said, the MD said, Madame said. There is no critical analysis of what the situation is. There's nothing that is going to educate you on what the situation may be. I think let's agree on one thing, and we all universally agree that our media right now has failed all of us.
Yes, yes.
By extension, they failed those children. And somebody did mention, I think it was the lady Funke who mentioned, that the same way as we remained oblivious of what was happening in the Niger Delta, and I was one of those ignorant people because I was living in Lagos. It was only happening over there. And so sometimes we used to crack jokes when we saw white people jogging around in Ikoyi, and we said, "Kai, you can't try that in Port Harcourt." But the truth of the matter is, that laissez-faire attitude, that distancing of ourselves, whatever excuse we want to give, is how this thing, which the gentleman said, yes, rightly started before this administration, but right now, my fear is it has outgrown everybody. But what then do we do? Okay, it's too big for us. Let it happen. We can't do that. And no matter how much we stand here on Speaker's Corner and say, ultimately some people have been elected, selected, voted for, and put in position to carry out certain jobs. So don't ask me to solve the Boko Haram crisis because I can't. I can tell you what I'd like to see. But you, sir, your position, by virtue of your position, by virtue of what you opted to do, should be in a position to tell me how you can solve that problem. And that information is what I am missing as a Nigerian right now.
I will.
And so don't blame me if I draw my own conclusions. I did say to you we were live. We have a question from far away in Singapore.
All right. This is from Andrew Harvey. He actually lived in Nigeria for a couple of years. And it says here that you Nigerians are criminally patient. That in other parts of the world, things like this would have degenerated into something else. And he believes that Nigerians can talk, but do nothing about it. So what would you say on that?
Andrew Harvey who wants to take Andrew Harvey's statement?
Do you want to take that? So he says, we Nigerians can talk, and I am doing that.
Well done.
And I do it once every month.
God bless you.
And it has not reached where, which brings the question, we are not really that bad off yet.
We are, and I'm actually going to support the Singaporean text or Skype message or whatever. It's a modern world. The people online here. Quickly Google Veterans Today. It's a magazine. It's run by a man called Gordon Duff, ex-US Marine. Veterans Today. Go quickly. There's an article called Nigeria Targeted for Destruction, written in 2011. And it ties in the drug trade, the arms trade, terrorism, and extreme corruption that's affected the likes of Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, and now Nigeria. And that there will be no end as long as you have governments who actually see a path through, they call it, in inverted commas, the war on terrorism to make money again. Another government magic. And everything in that document since 2011, every step he predicted up till drones, second-hand drones, oh, not new drones, second-hand drones will be bought. Second-hand superior equipment will be bought, and all this tied in to extreme corruption, and there will be no end until those corrupt governments are removed.
Right.
So we are in it for a while yet.
Let me ask you a question, sir. And I always worry when these theories come alive. Look, I am not Nigeria. As a nation, I'm serious about this. As an individual, I have been threatened in my line of work. I have been promised I will not succeed in A, B, C, or D. I have been told I will not get this far or that far. My question is, do I sit back and say to myself, well, you know what? The Americans, the all-powerful Americans have said we will not go beyond 2015. And so we can draw any inference we like from that. So maybe they are the ones fueling all of this. Maybe it's even the Chinese. Oh, you know what? I actually think it's the Ghanaians because they're jealous of us anyway.
Ghana must go.
But my point is, 150 million people, who are you to tell me that we cannot resolve what you've already told me is going to happen?
We can't.
So we are criminally patient.
We can't resolve it. It's impossible. How do we solve it?
So we should stop this whole thing about somebody said we are not going to do this, or we are not going to do that. Who on earth is a governor to speak where there is a sitting president? Yes, I've said so. A governor should not be able to speak where there is a sitting president. A sitting president can override anybody, rightly or wrongly. Let me give you an example. We all